Hey guys, what's up? It's Corey coming to you live right now from Indianapolis, Indiana. I want to do a re-intro video to my vlog, and this time I want to vlog my sober journey. This is a personal journey for me, and I think that vlogging it will be very helpful. I do journal and I do track myself in other ways that's beneficial, but I think that vlogging so that I can look back at progress, and sometimes it's easier for me to communicate or say what I want to say if I just get it out. So I'm gonna vlog the journey. Today for me is day 11, and it's also my mother's birthday, so shout out to my mom. Rest in heaven, rest in peace. I know her soul, her energy is still in this universe, guiding me, with me along this journey, and it has been one hell of a journey, y'all. So I said re-intro vlog because I have done vlogs before in the past. I started one back in like 2014, but then I canceled it out. Well, I didn't cancel it. It's still there. I just took it off. Anytime that I start vlogging, I always go back and take them down after I watch back at myself or listen to myself, and I critique every little thing that I may have said or did wrong. And I got to get over that because I realize, sometimes we can be our own worst critic, and I definitely fall into that category from time to time. So I'll be putting videos back up there from my past. So I started back in like 2014, then I took those down, then I started again in 2017 after I had some major things going on in my life, and I thought, hell, why not start vlogging? I started, got us a little views, some conversation here and there, and then I took it down because I had life going on and I got distracted. Took those down, and I kind of just went out into life and started living. Then I started vlogging again in like 2019 when I got back into trucking. And again, I took those down eventually just because I wasn't satisfied with how I was speaking or communicating, and I'm just critical of myself and how I'm relaying messages and every little thing. This time around, I am going to do less of that because I know what I'm saying is valid to myself, and maybe it'll be helpful to someone else out there. And I want to engage a community of people who are on the same journey as I am, because especially with sobriety, because the sobriety is going to tie into a lot of other things, abandonment issues, trauma issues, dealing with relationship issues, self-sabotage issues, therapy. I want to talk about it all. So I started again in 2019, took those down. Then I started again last year, 2024, after experiencing some very traumatic events in my life. I was doing a video every day or every other day. I put them out there. I started a little community. Things got going a little bit. The views started going up. And eventually life started happening again. I took them all down. See, on the healing journey, because healing definitely is not linear. On the healing journey, sometimes when we break through or have breakthrough moments, when we feel like we've progressed or, oh, I got this now, sometimes we can psych ourselves into believing, I got it. Like, okay, that doesn't bother me the same way anymore. And things will be smooth for a couple of months or weeks or whatever. And then boom, out of nowhere, out of left field, something to come and distract you or throw you off course. And now you find yourself back in the same slumps. So that definitely did happen to me. So that's my introduction. My name is Corey. I'm a traveling truck driver over the road. I've been doing this for 15 years off and on, but for a majority of my life, this is my career. I've been doing it for 15 years. Right now, I live in Georgia, in the Atlanta area. I do have plans on getting back to Houston here soon, and that's my introduction. So I don't want to make this video too long, just simply because I just want to open the door a little bit, and I think I want to commit to every night, every other night, or whenever I have free time while I'm out here on the road, which I do have a lot of free time. I want to go ahead and do a video because there are other YouTubers that I follow who has helped me tremendously. Guys, I've been to rehab, I've been to counseling, intense therapy, I've been on medications, alcohol, struggling with alcohol. I never was big on drugs, so I didn't really have any drug problems or anything like that, other than smoking pot here and there, dibble and dabble. On this journey, I am going to talk about a lot of things. Some things may be triggering, and I will warn if they are triggering. I will give a warning ahead of time, just because I know how it can be when you're coming out of something or going through something or whatever, and you hear certain things and it can bring up some trauma or something scary mentally for you or challenging for you to listen to or hear, and it might take you back to a dark place in your own life, and I know that's like not the move sometimes. Anyway, so quick breakdown of my story is I'm 35, I'll be 36 next month. My mother passed away. Growing up was very rocky for me. My family structure, I'm the baby of 6. My family structure was very good. My mother was very loving. I had family. My family was very religious, Christians. But growing up, my dad was an alcoholic. I witnessed, him abusing my mother, getting drunk. My dad was always loving and nice and caring to me, other than when I started growing up a little bit, around 5, 6, 7, in that age range. He'd be extremely hard on me because I was always soft, always outspoken. So I heard things like, I'm too soft, I need to be a man up, do this, do that. I remember one time in particular, like him playing catch football with me and my brother would catch the ball, and he'd congratulate him, and then I'd go to catch the ball, but I'd be like soft with the ball, trying not to like make it hit my fingers or whatever. So I'd be soft, and he'd always say stuff like, oh, you don't know what you're doing, or you too weak, or grab the ball, man, do it like this, do it like that. And I'd be like, no, that damn ball hurt, to jam my finger up. So little subtle things like that, it really affected me emotionally, and I didn't know then. But as I'm an adult now, those little subtle things, not getting encouragement and support and getting ridiculed at that age, allowed me to develop a trauma response, I suppose. So deep down inside, I'd be like, why is he being so mean? Like, if he would just, cheer me on like my brother, I know how to catch this ball. I could do it better than my brother. But at the same time, I didn't want to outdo my brother because I saw my dad could be critical of him as well, and I didn't like that. I wanted him to get the shine. So I kind of downplayed my own strengths so that he could get the shine, because he's my older brother and he's my only brother. So as I got older in my life, and now that I'm going through some healing things, and now that I've kind of like went back and kind of like looked at some of my own patterns and maybe disruptive ways, I realized in my relationships and my friendships and my family relationships, there were a lot of times in my life, even in my professional life, there were a lot of times in my life where I really downplayed my own skills just to see someone else get ahead or see someone else shine, or to take the spotlight off of me, because I didn't think it was fair for me to bask in the glory of things that I know I can accomplish, things that I have accomplished, but I'd let someone else take the credit for it, just simply because I could identify if that person didn't get enough credit or struggled in a certain area, and I'd be like, oh, they can have it. I know what I can do. Like, it's okay. So I did that for a long time. That's a small introduction to my early childhood. I was R word as a kid, about from the age of like 5 to about 8. And that was very normalized, or hush hush, or we don't talk about it. It was from a family friend, someone a couple of years older than me, and like it went all the way, little subtle things like playing hide and seek or playing out in the woods and sneaking me off by myself and doing certain things. And I really didn't know how to feel about it. So I'm going to get into that at a certain part in this journey. I'm going to get into like my identity, my sexual identity, which I would say is very ambiguous, because I really don't identify as anything. If anything, I could say maybe pansexual, because I don't date or bond with people based on their gender role or gender. It's more about how I connect with that person emotionally. However, growing up also, I think I kind of forced myself into the lens of a gay person in my earlier years. Like I came out, I guess, around 12, 13 years old, because that's the community, or those are the weirdos, or the people who accepted me the most. Although I did fit in well with my other, like I didn't get in good with sports players and athletes and things like that in school, but I was always around other people who were in with them, so I was always there, and I kind of got some of it. But where I thrive is where like back in my days, gothic was the big thing, or wearing the black and the black fingernails and all of that. That was the thing. So I figured, I looked at those people like, oh, that's so cool. Like they can really be themselves. They don't care that other people are talking bad about them or teasing them or whatever. Like, I want to be friends with them. I want to see what that's all about, because it's different than the status quo. So I went through a phase where I was kind of trying to figure out who I was, because after all of that stuff happened to me when I was a little bit younger, from the family friend, my brothers and sisters or other people would pick at me, or we would have those moments where teasing is involved. I was always called gay, not because I was gay, but because I was the softer person. I had the heart. I guess more like the crybaby one. Like I was the one who would tell the truth in circumstances where everybody's like, okay, we almost getting away with it. Like, but if my mom or somebody came to me and said, hey, what happened? I would be the one like, such and such did this, I did that, even if I was going to get in trouble. Like, I was the one who was going to tell the truth regardless of who didn't like it. So, and then I went through a bad boy stage where, in order to fit in, like, I needed to do what everyone else was doing: stealing cars, smoking cigarettes, weed, stealing alcohol out of grocery stores, vandalizing people's cars. Did I say stealing cars? Like, we were a nightmare. Like, I remember being young and police chasing us through woods and abandoned houses and things like that. Like, I went through a phase like that as well. Okay, let's speed it up. I'm gonna try to keep this. I'm gonna talk as long as I need to. Anyway, so that happened. My mom and dad split up when I was about 8, 9-ish. And we kind of moved. We bounced around from place to place for a while, and eventually we had some stability. My mom met this guy. He was nice to us. He took care of us. And there was some stability. I mean, we never really knew a stable life, and that was good for us. However, I think we acted out because, it wasn't our father. And also because who does this person think they are, coming into our lives, giving us rules and trying to give us structure? Anyhow, that kind of soured after a year or so with my mother and this person, maybe 2 or 3 years. I can't really remember. Um, Anyhow, right before my 13th birthday, a month before my 13th birthday, my mother passed in a car accident. She was traveling to visit my brother. He was in juvie. It was his final home visit before he could come back home. She was excited about that. She went to see him, and on her way back, she got in a car accident where she lost her life. And now there was a whole nother can of worms opening up for my life at the age of 13. Now my mother's passed away. My father and my dad's side of the family was very much there for us, kind of, sort of. But then after my mother died, we heard all the promises of who's going to help us out. I thought my dad would step in. My dad was busy with his own life. I thought maybe my grandmother would step in, or some aunt, or somebody like that would step in. Nobody stepped in. And I remember doing grief counseling as a little kid. I remember seeing a therapist weekly. I remember being on medicine. By the way, I grew up taking Ritalin at a very young age because I guess I had trouble focusing, or I was kind of like too much energy. And then my sister, my oldest sister, stepped in. I think she was around 17, 18. She stepped in for my mother and took over. But my sister was young and she had her whole life ahead of her. And it wasn't fair to her to put her in that position because none of the adults would step in and help her out with us. And being rebellious. And that's my sister. I'm like, that's my sister. I ain't got to listen. I ain't got to do this. I know what I'm doing. So my aunt and my uncle in Detroit thought it was a good idea for us to come, the younger kids, to come up there and live with them. And I jumped at that opportunity because growing up, I always looked at my aunt and uncle like the family life that we didn't have. Yeah, they had the house, they had the cars, they used to splurge on us for Christmas, they used to send my mom money to help take care of us. And we just looked at them as like they could do no wrong. My uncle did like 27, 28 years in the Marine Corps, so he was always like that guy. My aunt was always funny, hilarious. She was always that girl. They didn't have kids of their own, and they helped raise some of my extended family out there in Detroit. Back then, Detroit wasn't so bad. So we ended up moving to Detroit. That was rough. My aunt and uncle did their best. They were very loving, caring. However, I was unaware of, as a kid, I couldn't have been aware of. I was unaware that, they had their own problems, drinking problems, abuse problems, verbal, mental, emotional. My uncle had a lot of issues because of things he went through in the military. I think he did like 5 deployments. And things kind of just got really toxic and really bad up in Detroit for us. We're going to fast forward a little bit more. Eventually, at some point, we got taken away from my aunt and uncle because there was a situation where my uncle got physical with my sister, and she went to school and reported it, and they took us out of the home and placed us in foster care. Went into foster care, hated it. In the first couple of months, we bounced from this boys' home to that boys' home to this group home to this house for a couple of days with this family to this family. It was crazy, and I was only 14, 15 going through this stuff. I wasn't in one stable school setting for a long time, so I felt like, I know I didn't gain education in a proper way. So what I would do was I would just read books. Everybody thought, why is he so quiet? I would play video games and play games with all the other people, but I tried to isolate myself as much as I could to stay out of trouble, and things like that. But I didn't want to be dumb. I didn't want to miss out on opportunities, and I always told myself, I would go into the military and fly jets, or fly, fighter jets. I wanted to do something with flying, or jumping out of planes or whatever. My uncle instilled in me, like, I wanted to be some kind of special ops or something. So I said, well, I know I'm not in school. The teachers that we had off and on here and there, they gave us basic lessons that just say, I guess, to check boxes. So what I would do was I would read everything. I was reading the newspapers. People were making fun of me. I would read the newspaper every day. I knew what was going on in the world. I would read any book I could find, any magazine. And I used to listen to the radio because we had Walkmans, and I would listen to the radio to kind of like entertainment. I read novels. I read the Bible, pieces of the Bible. I read short stories, long stories. When Harry Potter came out, I read all of the Harry Potters that came out. I read anything I could get my hands on. And through listening to radio, as a source of entertainment, I found myself growing. I would be like very happy and excited to listen to commercials. So I thought for a long time I wanted to do commercials. Like, I want to be the guy on the radio. Like, nobody has to see me, but they hear my voice. I'm doing these commercials. So what I would do is I would get magazines, and I would just read the magazines and find a section where they were doing like some ad, and I would just rattle that shit off. And I was like, wow, I might have a voice for radio. Then I started listening to the things they would talk about on the radio, and I was like, wow, they're just having conversation. Could I do that? It really interests me. And mind you, I'm still like 14, 15, 16 in that age range. I'm like, this is what I want to do. I want to do radio. Being that I read a lot and whatever, I wrote and got in touch with someone who was on the radio who I listened to, and he responded. And this is like around the time email and things like that started getting popular. And I was thrilled that he responded. So from there, I went from wanting to do military to wanting to do radio. I'm only saying that to just kind of give you a guideline of the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, if you will, of my life to this point. So that happened. I also, at a point in time, I read an article in the newspaper about this woman. She was like 98 years old. She was like spending her own money and doing Kanga drives and getting clothes together and things like that to help kids in need. I wrote to her and just thanked her so much for what she was doing. I told her where I was, and I would love to help when I got out one day. And it was like this heartfelt long letter that I wrote to her because I was just very driven by her story. I can't remember her name at this point. I would love to remember. I know she's probably passed on by now, but it inspired me so much. And I tried to get the person from the radio involved with that. I got the director at the place where I was involved with it. So from a very young age, I was always wanting to be of some sort of service, whether that be serving the military, be on the radio, helping, talking. I've always wanted to be in some sort of service to my other fellow human beings. Anyway, fast forward. Now I'm 16. I wrote to a judge trying to get out of this boys' home that they had me in, because they actually put me in a place that wasn't really meant for foster kids. They just didn't have homes. They put me in a place more structured for youth who had problems. So I was around other kids who were like very terrible. Drugs, guns, anything you can think of, they were in there. So in the beginning there was some fighting and arguing, and things like that. But I've always been able to kind of carry myself in any space where I kind of got along with anybody. So I never really had big problems. And if I did, I knew somebody, or I figured my way out without a big struggle, whatever. So I get out, wrote to the judge. Judge heard my story. We expedited things. I got in touch with the chaplain at the place where I was, and we kind of moved things right along. My sister had to do some things to make sure I could live with her, and I was fighting for emancipation, but I only had like a year left or something, so it was better for me to just get her to get approved to have me live with her. She take me on as a guardian. I moved back home and start over from there, and then get my emancipation. I only had like a year until I turned 18. So we did that. Went to court. I think maybe a couple of days later, I was on a private plane, flew into, I want to say, Hilton Head or either Savannah. My sister picked me up. I got home. I had to readjust to being back home. I was in the South. I was so happy. I was grateful and gracious. Went back to school. Being at a normal, regular high school was so uncomfortable for me, because remember, for the last couple of years, all I knew was dysfunction and destruction. Like, I was like, wow, these are normal people with normal families, and they're nice. How do I blend in here? Furthermore, I was kind of like always the oddball, because everybody had the stories of where they came from, and they already had their friend system set up. And here I am coming back into the mix, and everyone's like, where you from? I'm like, I'm from here. They're like, but you moved here from where? I'm like, I lived in Detroit. I did this, I did this. It's like, but you from here? Like, it was just a confusing thing for people to like really wrap their head around. And I found myself always having to repeat my story or tell my story. And for a long time, I was looked at as an oddball, just because I guess I was unfamiliar to them. So 17, coming into 17, I tried dibbling dabbling with dating. I had a couple of girlfriends. Didn't really work out, just because I was struggling with my own identity. I talked to some guys here and there, but I never really jumped in with anything sexually or anything like that just yet, just because I was still trying to figure myself out. Eventually, we're gonna fast forward a lot of fast forwarding here. So eventually, around 17, I met a guy. We dated. Well, he wanted to date, and I was like against it, because I didn't know if I was gay, or I wanted to date a guy. I didn't know how that looked back then. This is around 2007. So things were still kind of like, we eventually fell for each other and started dating. Like, we jumped in after a couple of months of talking, and we lasted for like 10 years. So there was a lot in the first 2 years that we went through. Now that I'm dating this person, like, now this is my identity, and I stuck to it. I was in it. I ended up moving from Hilton Head to Savannah to be with them. We ended up going through some makeup type stuff here and there, because I was doing a lot of cheating and trying to figure me out. I didn't know what I was doing, but I know that it felt comfortable. And now in my healing journey and learning things that I've learned, I learned that I had an attachment style. What felt comfortable and safe for me was being with this person, not necessarily meaning we were supposed to be together, Anyway, we ended up moving to Texas with another friend who was in the military. It was like an easy way out to escape being in the South, to escape being where we were. And we just took it like, hey, this is an exciting thing we can do, an adventure. Let's go, let's do it. So we did it. I still wanted to join the military. I tried to get into the Army. While I was living in Savannah, I got involved in this thing where this guy had some drugs on him, some white stuff. And I was driving the car that we were in. The police, rolled up on us. He hid it under his seat, the passenger seat. They found it. He wouldn't own up to it that it was his. They charged me with it because I was driving. I fought it. It ended up getting expunged, but it was still there. I think I did like a day in jail. Anyway, so when I tried to go into the Army, because I had did 4 years of ROTC, so I could go in with a little rank, I think private first class. I think that's what it would have been, something like that. Anyway, I did the trainings. I went to every summer camp for ROTC. I was ready to go. I finally passed my ASVAB. They had me doing the pre-training stuff that you do before you actually get a date and everything like that. And he came back to me after a while and said, hey, because of that thing that was on my record, although it was expunged, at this time, I guess they weren't accepting as many people in anymore. He told me they wouldn't be able to take me because, one, my ASVAB score wasn't high to get a really, really good job. And they wouldn't take me. So I was pissed. Once I got to El Paso, I still had dreams on the military, so I said, okay, F it, I'll go and talk to a Marine recruiter. I went to talk to a Marine recruiter. He's like, oh, that's not going to be a problem for us. We can get you in. I did the training. I was working, the same things. And by this time, I'm deeply in love, and we're going through the ins and outs. The war was still going on, and I didn't care. I still wanted to go into the military because in my head, I'm thinking, I'll save us. I'll be the one with the job in the military and be able to afford us to be able to travel on my dime. And just, I had all of that in my head. At some point, we ended up moving to Houston because our friend that we moved to El Paso with got out of the military. Once we got to Houston, a lot of things happened, good, bad, ugly. And I got so caught up in my lifestyle and what I was doing and who I was with, that I lost aspirations for the military. And I saw a truck driving ad saying I could make X amount of dollars. And I thought, whoa, I can travel, make this kind of money. I'm going to be a truck driver. So now my new thing was truck driving. Got into truck driving as soon as I turned 21. And it was great. It was great. However, we'll get into that a little bit later. Things happened while I was truck driving my first year that would permanently disqualify me from being able to join the military. My life changed at 21. So we're going to fast forward now. The drinking started around 18. It started off small. It was just a thing to do after work. I would get a tall boy or two tall boys after work, drink those. I was smoking weed back then. Drink those, smoke my weed, go work out, go to sleep. I never had a serious problem with alcohol. Every now and then when there was an occasional party or whatever and everybody's hanging out having drinks, I would join in. It was never something. I was never the drunk person. No matter how much I drank, I could hang. Eventually, by the time we got to Houston, by the time I got into truck driving, drinking was like a daily thing. Everyone around me was drinking. Drinking was the thing. Still functioning, everybody still worked, took care of themselves, but drinking was the thing to do. When I got into truck driving, I was on the road, away from home, away from family, living in a truck, and kind of being in this lifestyle. Trucking is definitely a lifestyle. In my head, I thought, like a rock star. I'm in different cities, I'm young, I look good, I got money, more money than I've ever had. I can do what I want to do. So my high was, and escapism was, every city that I was in, I wanted to be able to hook up. So now we got sex involved, like sex addiction, and how all of this ties back into alcohol and childhood trauma and all that. I'm going to be able to draw all of this into a conclusion by the time I'm finished with this series, hopefully. So now with sex, I'm getting a high off of having my drinks when I shut down in a new city that I've never been in before with a pocket full of money. Shut down, get on the apps, find the best looking whatever I wanted, set that up, get the alcohol flowing, let them do what they do, if it's weed or whatever, let them do what they do, get the experience, the high of having that hookup and showing my friends, look at this fine mother effer or whatever, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, living good. I did that for years, and it all kind of, one thing led to another. Like the alcohol fueled the sex, fueled the attention seeking, the people pleasing, knowing the things that I was doing, I wanted to do them. They weren't wrong necessarily, but because I was in a relationship, I knew I was cheating, I knew I was hurting someone. It was, the people pleasing came in as a way to make up for the things that I knew I was doing wrong. Meaning, if I knew I went out and was smashing a person in every city for the last 2 weeks, meaning I slept with 14 different bodies, from the time I left home to the time I got back, when I got back, I would make sure I come back and spoil, take care of, pay for everything, make sure we had things that we wanted and needed. You don't have to work so hard. I made sure things were good because that was my way of clearing my conscience, my guilty conscience for the things that I'm doing wrong. It was wrong, but I was also young, living my life. I'm not faulting myself for it, but looking back now, it was kind of messed up. Furthermore, if it was me on the other end, I don't think I would have stayed or dealt with it as long as my ex did. Anyway, so some of that happened. Now drinking is like the constant. Got out of trucking after my first year, went back home for a little while, tried to stay in trucking a little bit, but everyone around me, my partner, my best friend, my friends, everyone around was drinking on a daily basis. We would go to sleep drinking. We would party from Thursday to Sunday. Every day we had an event lined up. We'd be at clubs. We were like the life of the party for a couple of years. We'd go to bars and bartenders knew us by name. The people in the clubs knew us by name. They would see us walking in our little entourage of people, and they'd be like, oh, such and such, and everybody's giving hugs and high fives and buying us drinks. And there were some bars we could go to where we didn't really have to pay for as many drinks as we were having. We would pregame before we go out, taking shot after shot after shot. We would be sloshed before we even got to where we were going. I remember wearing shades in the club because we were so high and drunk. We'd wear shades in the club, in the dark club already, just to kind of like keep our low profile, We did that. We did that for years. We would have maybe a day or two of break here and there when somebody got so sick and it's like, oh, I gotta recover, we're gonna take a day or two off. We would do that, but for the most part it was fast food, junk food, alcohol. I had moments in my life where I did like sobriety here and there for a couple of months or a month or two here and there. I would get extremely fit. I'd go vegan. I'd work out a lot, get fit. I would do that off and on, but I'd always go back to my alcohol. Even when I was doing clean eating, clean living, working out, I would always keep alcohol. I don't know what made sense in my mind that if I'm changing my diet, I'm working out, I can somehow manage to keep alcohol in there. Fast forward. Relationship ends up ending after about 10 years. My aunt and my uncle who raised me, after my mother died, they ended up passing away. I lost my relationship, lost my job. I was trying to get employment for some medical stuff. I was in extreme depression. I was suicidal. I had a lot of mental issues. They were misdiagnosing me with bipolar, schizophrenia, this, that, the other, and they were just throwing different medicines at me to try. And even though I was telling these doctors, like, I still drink, the problem was the drinking. Like, the medicines weren't necessarily a problem. It was never that I needed the medicine. I needed to stop drinking like I was. So I'm taking these medicines and finishing it off with drinking. I ended up having a seizure at some point. A couple. I had like 2 or 3, and those were scary moments. And eventually, after the relationship ended, after I got over my aunt and uncle passing away, I ended up getting a whole lot of money. So I wasn't so stressed out about having to work. The money was enough to take care of me for at least a year. So I took time off from working, focused on myself, focused on my healing. I did therapy. I was going to see therapy like twice a week, working out, reading books, getting back to myself. I felt really good. And maybe like 6 months after that breakup and after everything happened, I met someone new, but I was so against wanting to jump into a relationship. So I kind of strung that along for about 8 months before I eventually got into a relationship. Wanted to focus on my sobriety. I did focus on my sobriety. I ended up moving to Ohio with that person. We eventually got into a relationship. I was doing AA on my own accord. I was drinking still, but I was only having like a beer or 2 here and there. There were days I wouldn't drink. Drinking wasn't my fixation for my everyday norm anymore. I got back to some sort of normalcy. I started meeting groups of people. I was extremely lonely. I started meeting nice people, started doing things, going on nature walks, going to the beach, going running, getting involved with some other sober people, and it was actually good and healthy. Relationship wasn't ideal for me, but I felt kind of people pleasing and pressured into the relationship just to satisfy some outside folks' opinions about the situation. So I just don't think it was meant to be. Great person, relationship was healthy as much as it could have been, but we traveled together as truck drivers. We had a good life. I made money. I got my credits almost perfect. We were able to support ourselves, get things that we wanted. Money was never an issue. Both of us were taking care of different family members, and it felt good to be contributing in that way. And life felt brand new for like 2 years. COVID hit. I brought some people back into my life that weren't so healthy for me. Relationships started taking a hit. Drinking intensified tremendously. I went to like drinking every day. I would drink on the job, after the job, before the job, taking shots before work, drinking until I was sick. I had so many ailments and skin problems. As you can see, I have like skin problems. Being sick all the time. It went from being sick because I was drinking too much to being sick if I didn't drink. Literally, I dealt with DT, shakes. That relationship soured, things went left. Now I'm for sure, like, I was living with my sister at some point. I felt like shit living with my sister, not making enough money, barely taking care of myself. All credit cards maxed out. Money is just a crap show. Credit's taking a hit. I had a really good job that I really liked. I was moving up. I was in the management at this point, so I wasn't necessarily working. I was training people, hiring people, firing people. All of that was working out for me, and so many good things were happening until I opened the gates back to certain people in my life. And I can't blame them, and I'm not blaming them. I just didn't realize by me people pleasing and trying to like be there for everybody, I didn't realize what damage it would cause to myself, detrimental to my self development. Still young, still trying to keep that flame going, still hanging out all the time, karaoke, you name it. I was just out there still living my best life, or so it seemed. After that relationship ended, my friend, my buddy in Philly offered me to come out there. I was skeptical about it, but he kept trying to get me to do it for so long, to just start anew, and I figured, hell, why not? Let me try it. Did that, met somebody in the midst of that, and didn't realize that relationship would be the catalyst that landed me here today doing this video. This guy was much younger than me. 11 years younger than me. 10 and a half years younger than me. I knew it from the jump. I shouldn't have done it because of the age gap. It just, I wasn't leading with my good senses. I was leading with the energy. Young, I was people pleasing. He's having a hard time with family. Nobody's listening to him, understanding him. He's just young, trying to figure it out. Maybe I could help him. And I was opposed to being in a relationship. I even said, well, hey, I'll still help you as a friend. Like, we don't have to be in a relationship at school. But I felt pressured into being in a relationship. Ended up moving him on the truck with me. Like, he kind of like forced his way in there. It went from one day, oh, I'll come and hang out with you for a week, to I don't have a job, I can't go back home, I don't have anything, crying, like, I have no money for food, this, that, the other. And I'm like, oh shit. Well, you can stay on the truck with me. I mean, I could use the company, but you need to just focus on getting yourself back together and getting back home and figuring it out. That went from one thing to another. I ended up moving to Philly with my friend, great friend. We were friends for years, met in trucking. I felt pressure from him because, one, he didn't like the guy I was talking to. He didn't like it at all. Two, I'm staying with him, so he told me things would be one way when we first kind of talked about everything. I got there and realized, oh, okay, things a little bit different than we talked about, but I'll go with the punches. And then, because he was unapproving of the guy I was talking to, he's like, that he can't come here. I don't want him around, this, that, the other. Mind you, he wasn't bad. He didn't do anything bad. He just didn't like him because he was too much younger. And I heard out of his mouth directly, he's too young for you. He has nothing to offer you. You can do better than this. Like, in my head, I was hearing him put somebody down. Flashback to childhood when I looked at the different kids as being teased and stuff, and I went harder for them because I had something to prove at that point. So I got a little upset, and I was like, I'll prove you wrong. Like, I'm gonna love him hard. I'm gonna be with him hard, and now I'm gonna be with him. You can't tell me what to do. Like, not looking at it as a friend trying to watch out for my best interest, but the way he did it, it came at me more like an adult wagging their finger saying, if you do this, I'm not going to be your friend. I'm not going to deal with you if you deal with this. And I'm just like, no, you can't do that to me. So me and that friend fell out. Now me and this guy are in it to win it. End up moving to Atlanta with another friend who wasn't so healthy for me. Things really just intensified from there. Like, everyone was drinking every day, waking up drinking, throwing up, having diarrhea every day, not eating good, not taking care of ourselves. This is the first relationship that I was in. Things got physical, like fighting, blood being drawn, cops getting called. It was crazy. I'd never been anything like it, but I was so in love and so infatuated, and eventually I found that I was dating. I'm not, saying this in a bad way or anything. I was dealing with a lot of different narcissists in my life, and I'd opened the door for it. I had made it perfectly clear for these people to be able to do these things because I accepted it. So I'm not saying anything bad or wrong with anybody that I dealt with in my past who I no longer deal with. But what I understand now is I was dealing with narcissistic people, and people, once they couldn't get their way or get what they wanted out of me, or when I started putting myself first, that's when a lot of things change. And my friends, or some of the people I'm referring to, are people I had been friends or known for 20 years plus, and I'm just realizing these things. Some of them are my family members. Some I don't talk to, I can't talk to anymore. So that's coming into this chapter of my life. So in that relationship, all of the drinking, like, I swear I was gonna die. I was trying to, I wasn't trying to do it to myself, but the way I was going, I was gonna end up kicking the bucket. I ended up in a mental institution after I drank so much and was dealing with the DTs and the dreams and seeing things and hearing things and getting idle, and also like having these crazy thoughts. And I did a stint in there, got out, got back to work, but still stayed in the relationship, still had all the same people around me. Things changed for a while. I got sober for like a month. I saw clearly what was going on, who was the problem, what was happening, what I needed to change. But I couldn't change it. I wouldn't change it because I was so caught in the, I guess, trauma cycle that I saw this as okay. I saw this as something I can fix, something that can change, will change. I can change it, you know. And they probably saw, he's still sticking around. I'm gonna get as much as I can get. That's him. I pushed a lot of people away, people who warned me, people who saw it, and they just began to not want anything to do with me because they're like, I can't be around watching this. You know, this is horrible, and I don't know what to do. So you figure that out. And you know, I don't fault anybody for stepping away because, to be honest with you, I don't think I would have ever stepped away from someone dealing with anything. If I consider you a friend or somebody that I love, I would listen. I would give advice. I would be there. I would give you an honest opinion. I wouldn't close the door on you. I'm that person, and that's not going to change about the type of quality that I bring to any friendship or relationship that I'm involved in. I just know better who to rely on, how to rely on them. Everything isn't for everyone, and the truth can be same about you. You're not for everyone. You may want to be. You may have people that you're attached to. It hurts when you start letting them go and when you start seeing things, but it feels so good and liberating. This is the most lonely I've ever been in my life. When I say lonely, I'm spending a lot of time by myself with me, my dog, in the truck, in the open road. And the only interaction I get is with people I don't know, strangers, and I love it. I have an apartment that I may be there a couple of days out of the month. I'm waiting till that lease ends so I can just pack it up and just do what I'm doing now and save some money and try to get my financial situation back in a stable, healthy place and just rebuild. And to be quite honest with you, I'm more at peace and more clear and more tranquil in my existence alone. There are moments where I get lonely, where I want some human interaction, and I find myself dipping back into old ways with getting on apps to talk to people. But it went from wanting to do hookups and stuff like that as a filler to just talking. I don't do the hookups anymore. I'm not doing the sex, the random sex. I'm not doing drinking. I take myself on dates. I take myself out to the movies, go shopping, out to dinner, buying nice things for myself. I'm doing that for myself again, and I really enjoy the time that I can do those things for myself because I had not done it for myself for so long that it feels good. It feels like this is what I've been missing in my life. So that's why I'm on my journey now. It's almost an hour-long video, and I hope that you were able to stick it out through this. Once I learn my editing and how to like chop the video up, I can kind of fast forward you to certain parts. Anyway, after that last relationship and situation, I started doing a deep dive on myself. I started journaling, and I found Dr. Romney Duvernay. Dr. Romney. I know that's like her professional name. And if you type in Dr. Romney, I think it's Ramini. Anyway, she teaches about, you know, I was Googling one day trying to figure out what am I experiencing? What is this that I'm going through? So I just started typing in a bunch of things, and I found her, and she's like very, very amazing with helping you understand if you are in a narcissistic, abusive situation, or if you're dealing with these type of people in your life. And once I found her, that cracked the code. She explained every single thing that I was going through. It's almost like she was talking directly to me. And it wasn't only about the relationship that I was in with a person romantically. It also identifies so many professional, personal, family, friendships. It was hitting every nerve in my essence. And once I found what it was, narcissism, narcissistic abuse. Oh, this is a thing. And I went down the rabbit hole, and I started finding other people. There's I'll list some of these people in some of these videos eventually. There's Andrew from the beautiful Carolinas. There's the guy who does mental illness. There are regular survivors who just post YouTube videos like I did. And I'm going to put my videos back out there. Anyway, where I found a lot of healing growth, it wasn't in rehab. It wasn't in the mental hospital. It wasn't going through therapy and talking to a professional and spending all that money. It wasn't trying all the different medicines. Where I found the biggest healing, the biggest help and health for myself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, was in getting down in the videos in the comment section and talking to other people who got it, who put a similar story out there that sounded just like mine, and we got the chit-chatting back and forth. You're going to find your tribe and your people out there, and that is my hope, is that my video and seeing someone like me, I don't see a lot of black guys, I don't see a lot of younger guys out here talking about this stuff. Predominantly I see a lot of women who deal with this or speaks about it openly. I don't think a lot of men want to talk about it, just because you are narcissistically abused. What kind of man are you? You let a woman do that? You let this person get away with that? I've heard it all. I've heard it be downplayed to, you're just weak or not strong enough, you better put them in their place or whatever. But people don't understand the emotional and psychological warfare this can have internally with yourself at the hands of other people. And it's not fair, it's not easy, but I found most of my strength coming from talking to people just like me, who I can identify with. And it may seem lonely when you're trying to figure this stuff out, you're trying to get on that path, but this has brought me to sobriety. And I'm only 11 days in, but I've done long stints before, and this time feels like how it felt when I did the longer stints in my life before, because I really wasn't drinking because I just love the way alcohol tastes, and I just love feeling like shit every day, and I love things just messing up in my life. No, I was drinking to cover up bigger problems, things I couldn't or didn't want to deal with or know how to deal with in a mature, emotionally healthy way for myself. So I would drink to numb, to not think about it. Or if I'm going to cause a scene and just mess everything all up, I'll do it my way, drunk, where I don't got to think about it until the next day. And if I start thinking about it and start bothering me again, I'll just drink that one away too, and I'll go back to sleep, and I'll wake up feeling like crap again, and I might not eat good, I might not hydrate, and I'll just be crappy. And what I'll do, power through that day, get to the end of that day, and drink again just so I can go to sleep. So trust me, guys, I have been there, and I'm still figuring this thing out. I want to open and extend myself to being able to communicate with anyone who feels like any of this resonates with them. I'm no professional, I'm no guru, I'm just another person who's had an experience, and if any of this sounds comparable to what you've been through, hey, look, I'm a truck driver, I'm open for conversating on the telephone, having conversations, emailing, chit-chatting. If you have references or books, audiobooks, or videos, or anything that you want to refer to me, I definitely would be open to receiving those. The video is about an hour right now, and I'm going to end now. I just want to say, if you are dealing with something, struggling, and you feel like no one else hears you, or you can't talk to people that you know, there's a community of us out here. Keep going another day. If sobriety isn't what you're on, journey you're on right now, don't beat yourself up so much. Things will get better in due time, and you are stronger than you know, and you can get through this. I promise you. And I'll say this, and it sounds cliche, or it sounds, it's like something you hear all the time. But guys, I am gonna say this: if I can do this, you can do this. I can't tell you how many nights I've been out here on the road in the middle of nowhere, lonely, in this truck by myself, crying to myself like a big baby, thinking and ruminating about things and reliving things that had already happened over and over again. Why can't these people see? Why can't I get over this? How can I force myself to stop thinking about it and letting it affect me this way? Researching. Keep at it. You will find a way out. I still have bad days, but the days are easier. I love you, and know that if you don't feel that coming from me, someone loves you. And if they don't, find love for yourself. Give yourself grace. When I think about some of the crappy, effed up things that I did to other people when I was drinking, how some of my family or friends don't even talk to me anymore. It hurts when I think about it. It hurts when I have to remind myself of what I was doing. If I see other drunk people out there and just look at them and be like, I remember that was me. God, I hope that person don't go down that road out with them. Give yourself grace. Recover. Anyway, my name is Corey. Hopefully I can be of service to someone, even if it's just a conversation. I hope you have a really good day, and I hope you find your way through this journey, and I hope that you just stay at it. This is my sober day number 11th. I started on the 1st of July with the hopes of doing dry July, but as I got over that first week, I was like, oh, I like this clarity. I like this freedom. I like this way that I'm communicating with myself without needing validation or anything from anyone else. My thoughts are clear. I'm not waking up every day that I wake up and I'm not shaking a hangover and having to pound water and coconut water and things like that to just revitalize my body. I'm like, thank God I woke up sober. I feel so good about doing it this time, and I don't have anyone to prove this for. This time I'm not doing it for my nephew or my sister or my brother or friends. I'm doing it for me. And when you do it for yourself, you don't need to validate. You don't need to explain to people why you're doing it. Or if somebody offers you a drink, you say, no, I don't drink. Oh, you ain't drinking no more, this, that, that. You don't even need to explain. You're not going to feel like you have to. No, I stopped drinking. I don't drink no more. Nah. If you feel like you need to make up an excuse just not to feel weird, make up an excuse. Oh yeah, this medicine that I'm taking, I can't drink with it. Anyway, I hope you make it through the fire. This is just the fire. Once you walk through this, everything is gonna feel easy. I have rough days. I have high anxiety some days because my mental clarity is like, I may have a bad day out here on the road or something, and something triggers me. But I'm easily reminded of some of the tools that I learned and how to walk myself out of it and to go back to peace. Life is beautiful, and I hope everyone is striving to bring more peace into their own life. Don't allow someone else to control your peace. Anyway, have a good day.